fact, if I'm not very much mistaken, let me just go back, that panhandle shaped thing could be, well, the Florida Panhandle. That thing at the bottom underneath the ISS, bottom of your screen. Could be, not saying it is, but it could be. That's very definitively Mexico. And to the left is Baja Mexico, Baja California.
G'day everybody, where's Wally here? Dim Dim in space. Well, he's certainly lost in space. Look, I am sorry for dumping Antonio straight into your earbuds without warning. I just wanted to make a point here. He really thinks he's got this one nailed. So place your bets. Do you think he's right or do you think he failed? Well, this is going to be a long one, so I'm going to intersperse this between Antonio and some other pretty things from the ISS just to break up Subirats' voice. A lot of people have complained in chat that we don't want to hear Antonio all the time. Fair point. Now, this is a kind of long video and I'm going to basically tell you how he failed right there, which sort of ruins my question I was asking. But I'm also going to show you the ISS and some HUD similarities, so Antonio is not going to like that, so that'll make it all worthwhile. And then finally, the last part of this will be the premiere part where we're going to have a look at Starman and all the ways that Antonio failed on that one, and some really gorgeous footage there as well that I'm sure a lot of you haven't seen before, and even some bits I didn't even notice existed, so it's going to be fun.
In fact, if I'm not very much mistaken, that panhandle shaped thing could be, well, the Florida Panhandle. Could be, not saying it is, but it could be. That's very definitively Mexico. And to the left is Baja Mexico, Baja California. Oh no, maybe you're seeing some other place of the planet Earth that has land too, that's adjacent to water, that has no islands nearby, nothing nearby.
I could not have said it better. Now, Antonio, I think you have misidentified the location. I don't think that's Florida at all. What if that land with water behind it isn't land at all?
I don't know.
What if there is no island?
I don't know.
What if it's off South America?
I don't know.
What if that panhandled shaped cloud isn't Florida, but just a panhandled shaped random cloud?
I don't know.
Well, what Antonio failed to do, and he has no idea how to do or even to go about doing, but I do know how to do, and I did do, is locate the original feed. And here it is. So as we watch this original feed, guess where the ISS was? Well, it wasn't over America or Mexico or Baja California. It was over the Southeast Pacific, west of South America. A part of the ocean which doesn't have very much in the way of islands either, by the way, Antonio. So all that talk you just went on about with lights in the dark and Alaska and eastern Russia should be lights. Well, Antonio, that was a waste of breath. But it does prove one thing, that Antonio is prepared to be very intellectually dishonest to prove his non-globe. And because I can, and because it's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, I'm going to show you the sunset from the ISS, which immediately preceded that sunrise. And it's really, really spectacular because it allows you to watch the Terminator disappear over the edge of the Earth, over the curve. And you get a really good definition of the curve. Check that out, Antonio. And then also, just by way of confirming all of this mappy stuff, have a look as the ISS passes over Madagascar. There you go. That's what a shoreline actually looks like, Antonio. Not a cloud that looks like a bit of a bunny rabbit.
So sometimes it does feel like you're mocking the afflicted. But then you have to realise, no, if people are stupid on purpose, they're not afflicted. They're not. You're not being cruel.
Oh, okay, thanks. Good to know.
You're pointing out ridiculous absurdities to people. So I show, hey, look at these things. And the reason I'm showing this, and I'm sure that because these guys, it's like a part of their intellect has been cauterized. Where? Um, marine traffic, I don't want that. Parts of the brain has been cauterized to intellect. It's fluoride, guys. That's what does it. Oh, come on. Where is it? Why am I finding it so difficult? Let's see. When the other day it was like nothing. Just write. Let's see this one.
Globers have part of the intellect missing, says Antonio. Now, where is that website? Can't find it. Oh, it was here a minute ago. I don't know where it is. Antonio, do you sound like you know what you're doing, mate? Well, thanks, Antonio, for pointing out that Globers are probably poisoning their minds with fluoride and other things so that they can't think clearly. I hope that isn't happening to you, mate.
So here is the infinity pool at the hotel I'm currently staying at, and I know many flat earthers believe that I sit on my computer all day responding to their comments. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. I almost never do that. Most of the time, when I post a comment, I will be out doing other things, such as relaxing by the pool, at a local cafe having breakfast or lunch, or in the hotel gymnasium. I work out for 2 hours every day when I'm away from home and not flying. Firstly, 1 hour of weights, and between reps, I will read and respond to a few comments, and then I get on the treadmill and run for an hour and do the same thing. It passes the time very quickly.
So what Antonio doesn't understand, but I do understand, is that the first sequence of photos he shows of the panels lighting up in the dawn light were taken by the HD live stream experiment, which just stopped operating in September 2019, which is unfortunate and sad. But the HD cameras were set with a fixed exposure, and they did not auto-adjust as the light varied. This really caused a lot of flat hurt. I'm not sure why it was configured that way. It was possibly so that all of the daytime shots were taken could be compared. But now Alex Gerst, his footage was taken with a totally different camera, taken probably from inside the cupola, and taken as a time exposure. So it means each frame was a much longer and slower. And henceforth you could see the really low lights, you could see the stars, and you could even see the orange band of the atmosphere. So two totally different ways of taking photographs. Results quite different.
Again, the light saturation and contrast card can't be played because, look as I go to here, because, well, no stars. Watch again. Thank you again. Where's Wally?
Blue sky, black sky, daytime, nighttime. It's time to play a game, Antonio. Let's see if you can pick daytime or nighttime.
Daytime, nighttime.
Oh, no, not that. Let's not do that. Question 1, day or night? Question 2, day or night? Question 3, day or night? Question 4, day or night?
None at all. Overhead. No stars. Nothing at all.
No stars, Antonio. Well, that's because it's daytime. This is like middle of the desert type, on the beach daytime. Why would you expect there to be any stars? Now, as the ISS passes over the terminator, the sunlight is exactly parallel with the ground. And that little circular solar panel there on the docked Cygnus capsule is also parallel to the ground, or horizontal if you want to call it that. Now, as you can see, the sun is now shining on the top of that surface. And you know what that means? And before that, the sun was shining under it. Do you know what that means? And when the sun was shining under it, that means it was less than horizontal, right? That means it's HUD all over again, Antonio. Game over.
Now remember, Wes Wally has not answered the question of the. I tell you what. Tesla Roadster. Can you see how there's nothing in front of it that could block the sun. Do you see, Wally? So when the roadster is illuminated and like so, where the earth is gibbous, it is lit from up and to the right. There's light now falling into the Tesla roadster from the sun, but somehow not onto the Tesla roadster. Did you see that? Let's go back. Can you see? Oh, there's very faint light. In fact, it's casting shadow. I mean, this is just so much worse. There's light that's casting the shadow of the frame that's holding the camera. That light, which must be sunlight, is somehow so weak it cannot illuminate the actual paint job.
Wow, Antonio, you can even see the sun's casting a shadow on the front of the car and you still don't get it, do you? The camera is stopped way down. There's so much light reflecting back from the white matte spacesuit, and all the light that's hitting the red, highly polished Duco of the car is not coming back. There's no backscatter from the red. The light is only backscattering from the white.
But let's see what the paint job looks like when it is illuminated by the sun. Let's increase the Kelvin. Good Lord. Do you see, folks? So the Globling, who still looks at this and still says this is real, it's not fake, is not an honest, sincere Globling.
Well, here is a single shot that pretty much explains it all, Antonio. Why is the side of the car black? Can you figure that out? Perhaps the light that's all coming down from the top. There's no light coming in from the side because this is in the hard vacuum of space, remember? There's no atmosphere to diffuse and bounce light in from other angles. It's only coming from the sun, or maybe a little bit from the earth shine.
See, it's falling into the car but not onto the car. That's a very peculiar situation. In fact, you might call that an impossible situation.
Impossible, you say, Antonio? Do you think it's impossible that a highly polished reflective surface could bounce nearly all of the light away from it?
I don't know.
That a spacesuit, which is matte and white, is reflecting it back?
I don't know.
Come on, I thought you were an artist. I thought you should be able to work out how different surfaces reflect and refract light differently.
I don't know. Forget the lack of stars, okay? We're being generous and saying to you guys, what about the stars? Never mind that question. We'll pretend it's not really, we'll pretend like it doesn't matter that there are no stars whatsoever. Okay. Wally. By the way, in case you didn't know, I'm pretty sure you do. In Britain, a Wally is an idiot. And I know your name is Walter, so maybe you might call yourself Walt. You know, like Walt Disney, or simply Walter. But calling yourself idiot, it's a bit idiotic. I'm just saying.
Antonio, did you ever think that where's Wally is meaning that I'm pointing out where the Wallies are? Hey?
I don't know. No. Pause this. It remains unanswered and it will just continue. It will not be addressed. It will not be answered. I'm going to show something else that will also be, it will go unaddressed and unanswered.
Unaddressed and unanswered, you say? You know I'm going to pull this all apart, don't you? And show you the very many errors that you have just made, right?
I don't know. Those people who believe in the imaginary curvature of the Earth have cost untold lives. That's right. That's right. So when you have the Where's Wallis of the world, Let me go to Where's Wally. What they espouse has cost lives. That's right. Here he is. Now, we've already seen, I already showed yesterday that there's a little bit of an obsession going on. Wolfie has complained that I mention him in all my videos. I don't really. And he has complained that I use his name as clickbait. These complaints, wonderful. Where's Wally? Well, let's look at his videos. 1, 2, 3. Then my name. Let's see. Let's see if there are any more. And this is just in the last month or so. Oh, and another one, and another one. All the ones with Tintin, it's me. Oh, there, and another one, and another one. Oh, and there's Bucket Word. Let's see. Oh, and there's my map.
I mean, what surprises me, Antonio, is that you're going after space and SpaceX stuff. Did you not look at my channel and see that that's literally pretty much everything else I've ever done is ISS and space? I mean, why would you pick on a subject which I clearly know a lot about? It's like if you went to a pilot and told them that they know nothing about a HUD or... okay, look, I am kind of hearing myself right now, so I might just shut up.
After I said to him, you're to address the lack of direct sunlight on the car.
So I even went outside with my camera and got a red car and a bright light on my head, so that the source was directly behind the camera, just like the Tesla. And guess what? If you put a white spacesuit on the car, it's quite easy to get white coming back off of that, but it's really hard to get any red coming backscattering from a highly reflective red, very well polished red surface. And you know, thinking about it, Elon Musk's red Tesla was going to be very, very well polished within an inch of its life, wasn't it? Because it was the ultimate car ad, ultimate demo. It's going to be shown to the whole world. He made sure that thing was as polished can be. So clearly when the sun is behind us and it's shining down past that little A-frame and onto the car, most of that sunlight is just bouncing back off into the black, dark inkiness of space. And of course there's no light coming from the space back. So I guess the only light that's coming back to the camera is from the white spacesuit. Kind of easy when you see it like that, isn't it, Antonio? And unlike the cameras on the ISS HD Live experiment, the cameras on those 3 cameras on the Starman vehicle were very reactive to differing light conditions. They would change their exposure on demand as needed. And that's why you see, as the vehicle spins from pointing out into the inky blackness of space, as it spins around and you suddenly get the Earth come in, all of a sudden the exposure starts changing and cranking and stopping down a whole heap, which is why the vehicle starts going a lot darker. Can you see? Do you understand that, Antonio? Do you get it? It's the cameras are dropping their exposure quite dramatically because you've now got full daylight blasting into the face of the camera. So in summary, the main reason we're seeing all these weird effects is there is no atmosphere, so you've got no scattering from the atmosphere. The most light is coming from the sun, the point source of light from the sun. The cameras are auto exposure reacting quite dramatically. Elon's red Tesla Roadster was highly polished and reflected a lot of light straight back off it, so unless the light was bouncing off the car and towards the camera, we just didn't see it. And the white spacesuit was very matte, and you could see it stand out in all sorts of directions. So between all of those effects, plus we just have very little experience looking at things in space.
But look, as I scroll through, you see that, well, he doesn't address the lack of light.
And Starman did do 1.5 orbits or so around the planet, so at one point in time it did go totally into the dark, sort of a bit like a lunar eclipse type thing, but it was only pretty short because at 5,000 kilometre orbit there's a lot greater chance that it's going to be in the sunlight than in that little tiny bit of earth shadow. So check out all the pretty things you see while the vehicle is in the shadow. And when it's coming out of the shadow, we're starting to see Starman just getting a bit of shine off that tiny thin little crescent of earth that's starting to show through. And that little bright light is a city. And what do you reckon that flashy stuff is? You're right, it's lightning. And there were storms over South Africa that morning, and as Starman went cruising over, you could pick them up out the rear view mirror. Very, very cool stuff. Well, Antonio, now that all of that Starman lighting issue has been fully explained, I guess you need to go and talk to the person who told you about it, eh?
I don't know.
So they can give you some more clues?
I don't know.
You really don't know what to say now, do you?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just bumped into Critical Think at the water cooler, and he asked me to remind you, Antonio, that, and I think the words he used were red tube experiment. He said you'd know what that means. So, Antonio, Where's Wally is pointing the Wally finger right at you. You really made a botch of this one, didn't you, mate? And it's the Titanic all over again. All those little flatties that strapped themselves to the deck chairs on the Titanic. Guess where they all went? With you, mate. And how about all that outgassing? Man, this is just like watching dust motes in a sunbeam, really. The beautiful black background silhouetting all the little bits of particles that are outgassing. That thing's sitting in a hard vacuum and getting blasted by full sunlight. Of course, there's little bits of particles that are going left, right and centre. Well, actually, they're all going one way. But man, doesn't it look pretty? Antonio's just going to go full berserk on this one. I don't know what the hell he's going to come up with, but it's going to be funny, I betcha.